I'm attorney Jonathan Svitak with the Shannon Law Group. Our firm helps individuals recover financially and emotionally after experiencing injuries due to vaccinations. We do this by pursuing compensation for them through the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. The HPV vaccine is included within the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. And it was developed in 2006 and recommended by the CDC for administration in preteens, or children between the ages of 11 and 12. And the purpose of the HPV vaccine is to prevent certain cancer-causing viruses. And it's been very effective in that way. However, there are some conditions and injuries that are associated with the HPV vaccine for which the CDC and the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program now recognize are related to that vaccine. And they include SIRVA, which is a shoulder injury related to vaccine administration. Typically, the administration of the vaccine is done in a way that causes inflammation in your shoulder joint. And typically we see the onset of your symptoms for that particular injury occur somewhere within the first 2 days of receiving the vaccine. Another condition associated with the HPV vaccine is fainting. And again, typically we'd see the onset of that injury occur within 1 hour of the administration of the HPV vaccine. Now, both of those conditions are actually associated with all vaccines on the vaccine injury table. And it's true of the HPV vaccine as well. Finally, there's the condition of anaphylactic shock that's also related to the HPV vaccine. And for that particular injury, we're looking for the onset of your symptoms to occur within 4 hours of the administration of the vaccine. Now remember, for all of these conditions, in order to be eligible for compensation in the program, your symptoms need to persist for at least 6 months. So, for example, with a fainting type injury, usually what we see are injuries that are the results of fainting, that are more serious or more severe, head injuries and things like that. So that's just one thing to remember with all of these conditions. Now, if you or a loved one has experienced one of these injuries or conditions that we just talked about, you might be eligible for compensation through the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. So if we were going to help you file a petition for that particular injury or condition, there's a few things we'd have to confirm before we can move forward. The first would be that you satisfy the statute of limitations. So in order to file a petition, you have to file it within 3 years of the onset of your symptoms. So if your symptoms began on the day that you received the vaccination, you'd have 3 years from that date to file a petition. Now, your symptoms from that particular injury or condition also have to persist for 6 months before we can file the petition. That's a prerequisite for any injury that you experience as a result of a vaccine. You also have to receive the vaccine in the United States, with a few exceptions. Now, if you meet all of these filing requirements, we can draft and file a petition for you. Now, the success of your petition relies on a few different criteria, and that's set forth in the vaccine injury table. So if we can show that your injury meets the criteria that's set forth on the vaccine injury table, then there's going to be a presumption that the vaccine caused your injury, which can be critical to the success of your petition. And that's what we're trying to do in phase 1 of the compensation program. Ultimately, we're trying to show that your injury or condition was caused by the vaccine. Now, if we're successful during that phase of the program, we would move into the second phase of the program, which is determining how much compensation you're entitled to. And for that phase, what we're looking at are any out-of-pocket medical expenses, any lost wages, earnings, or income as a result of this injury, and pain and suffering damages, which are meant to compensate you for the severity of your pain and your symptoms, and the impact that your pain and symptoms had on your daily life. All 3 of those things would be part of your potential compensation through the program. During this entire process, we're advocating for you to receive compensation for your injury. Our opponent, or the respondent in this case, is the government. They're reviewing your petition, they're reviewing the evidence, and they're going to defend the fund if they believe that you're not entitled to compensation, or they're going to defend the fund if they think you're not entitled to the compensation we believe you're entitled to. Now, any disputes between us and the government are resolved by the judge or the special master that's assigned to your case. Now, we can resolve those disputes through settlement with the government, or we can resolve those disputes through hearing before the court, before the judge. Ultimately, the judge can and will decide the fate of your case and how much compensation you're entitled to if we're not able to reach an agreement with the government. Throughout this entire process, from the moment we sign up your case until the moment it's resolved, you're not going to pay us anything. You're not going to pay us a retainer. You're not going to be billed by us for any of our fees or our costs. And at the end of the case, if the court or the government decides to award you compensation, we do not take a percentage of that compensation as our fee on a contingency fee basis. The way that we earn our money and retrieve our costs is through petitioning the government for those fees and costs. A completely separate determination from whether you're entitled to compensation and how much compensation you're entitled to. So at no point during this process do you ever have to concern yourself with how much I'm getting paid, whether I'm getting paid, when I'm getting paid. If you or a loved one has experienced an injury or side effect due to a vaccine, please contact us for a free consultation. We'd be happy to discuss your options with you. You can contact us by calling us at 312-578-9501 or click the link in the description below.